Good morning. I am going to call to order the December 13th, 2023 last meeting of the year of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Government Board of Directors. I almost said, please stand for the flag salute out of habit, but yeah. All righty. First item, establish a quorum. Andy?
I might suggest we go around and do self-introductions. We need 7. I'm counting 7 in the room if my math is right.
I got 5 online, 4 or 5 online.
Yes, okay.
So we
yeah,
have
why
a
don't we
quorum?
do self-introductions in the room,
Okay.
and then Jared will help us with the board members online.
All right, we'll start to the left. We have Jessica Farr here.
Is this on?
Yes, you
Okay.
push the one that looks like a little talking mouth.
Okay, Jessica Farr from Palmer Lake.
Andy Gunning, PPACG.
John Graham, City Manitou Springs.
Roland Gardine, Mayor Pro Tem Callahan.
Todd Dixon, Mayor, Green Mountain Falls.
Kelly Case, Mayor Pro Tem Woodland Park.
Lynette Crow Iverson, City Council at Large.
Shane Ferguson will see that.
Jeff Vaughn, representing Colonel David Hanson, Space Base Delta One.
Carol Richards, Office Manager at PPACG.
And we'll go back to Commissioner Vanderworth.
Next one.
And Commissioner Stan Vanderwerf, El Paso County.
Okay, and online, we have Mayor LeKind.
Monument, Mitch LeKine. Good morning, everybody.
Okay, and Commissioner Stone.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Eric Stone, Teller County.
Councilmember Duncan. And Jeff Mosier.
Morning, everybody, from Cripple Creek. Nice and wintry up here already.
And Commissioner Mitchell. And Colonel Warner.
Hi, Colonel Warner, Deputy Commander out at USAPA.
Okay, and also just joining us in the room is Councilmember Avila from Colorado Springs. You mind if I just introduce you? Are you okay?
Oh, I'm good. Thank
All right. Okay. All righty. That takes us on to the next item, agenda approval. What would the board like to do with the agenda? Moved to approve by Yolanda, Councilmember Avila.
Second, John Graham.
Second, John Graham. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that takes them on item 3, introductions, public comments, and presentations. We have an award, and I'm not sure who's presenting that. Is that
Come on up, Carol, and
Mary? Okay, Noelle Estella, put an R in there. Okay, 5-year service award recognition.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Carol McBroom, I'm Finance Director, PPACG. I get the honor of introducing Noemi Estella. She's been with us 5 years, and she is currently our staff accountant in the finance department. Noemi holds all the skills needed to be a successful accounting professional, such as integrity, adaptability, problem solving, and organizational skills. Few things about Noemi that's important. She was a 2022 PPACG Employee of the Year. She is arguably the favorite PPACG employee because she's in charge of payroll. She is the first point of contact between AAA providers and the finance department. She's responsible for the PPACG accounts payable. She also, in addition to all that, she assists PPRTA's accounts payable process. So PPACG is very lucky to have her. And personally, I appreciate everything you do. No matter what the situation, she always rises to the occasion. And I thank her for her unwavering dedication, and it doesn't go unnoticed. Congratulations.
And just want to mention as well, I got a recent feedback email from one of our AAA service providers, and they said Noemi is a saint, just given the level of support and effort that she goes into working with our service providers, and hear the same thing regularly, as Carol mentioned, from our employees. So really, our gratitude. Thank you for everything you're doing, Noemi. Yes, it's good. Appreciate it.
All right. All right, congratulations. John,
Okay.
I believe you had something else?
Real quick, yeah, well, if,
Andy.
got the mic, just real briefly, I know a lot of people had December 13th circled on their calendars because it's a big birthday, a worldwide icon, and I'm not talking about Taylor Swift, although it is her birthday today, but she has the honor of sharing that with your favorite transportation MPO director, John Leosados, and tell you how much he is such an influencer, just like Taylor Swift. We had there was a run on cupcakes sprinkled with unicorn blood. So we had to get regular cupcakes today. So that's how much John is an influencer. So just wanted to recognize John. And if we wanted to sing happy birthday, we could certainly do that for John. Come on up.
Mm.
I'm sorry.
I mean,
A mink tie. We could work on that, but
Yeah,
what do you
Andy.
sing first?
He's
Yeah.
got a candle on his cupcake
Andy?
though. Yeah.
Yes.
Andy,
Yes, whoever's speaking, go ahead.
this is Dick Elsner.
Okay.
I just want to say go Cats.
Oh. So to go really back, like to Sheriff John, put another candle on your birthday cake. You're another year older today. Woohoo!
And just to wrap it up, happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear John. Happy birthday to you. All right. Oh, yes, I agree.
So
All right.
instead of being Swifties, you are all now Toesies.
Hey, I want to know when you're going to start your Eras tour.
He just wants the money that goes along with it. He doesn't want to have to perform.
And
Okay.
for those of us with December birthdays, John, that's your Christmas present too.
hey, now, I'm not gonna go for that.
Yeah,
That's not good.
yeah. All right, and Commissioner Elsner has joined us also, and I think I see Commissioner Williams coming in too. All right, thank you everybody for coming in today. Okay, we have item B, an update from the Homefront Military Network. Kate Hatton, come on down, Kate. I thought you had a cupcake in your hand there
I
for a
do
minute.
not, so I
Okay,
didn't want to have anything in my teeth when I came up.
there you go. That frosting would get you, wouldn't it?
Good morning. I'm Kate Hatton with Homefront Military Network. Thank you for having me here. Some of the work that we do generated out of the work at Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. So I kind of like to come. I'm a little late this year, but thanks for sneaking me in before the end of the year. So I have a couple of folks with me here. Our board chair, John Andrew, and board member Sally Clark, whom you may know, who might have who might have something to say. But I'll be brief, but not too fast because Sally tells me I talk too fast all the time. Anyway, Homefront Military Network, we're a collaborative and we assist service members, veterans, and families by providing emergency financial assistance, navigation, and connecting to our trusted community partners. And what that really means is that we do a lot of work with a lot of folks, including the folks in this room, and really to make sure that our military and veteran community is well taken care of. How we do that is through, as I mentioned, our main areas, financial assistance, helping with rent, mortgage, utility bill assistance, things like that, car repairs. And that may be why people come in the door, but there's usually a lot of reasons behind that. So a lot of what we do, the bulk of what we do is what we call navigation or case coordination. We work with folks who, when we first started doing navigation, about 10% of our clients needed that kind of support. Now more than half do, because it's not just one need, it's a whole family situation that we're looking at. So we're looking to address multiple needs over the long term. It might take 2 months, it might take 2 years or longer. So we want to stick with folks as long as they'll have us. And we provide education and outreach on 2 levels. One, that partner network, which I'll get to in a second, making sure that they understand military and veteran culture and know how to connect to each other and back to the military installations in the VA so that we're all working together and not against each other. And then we want to educate those who need assistance on how to reach us and reach other agencies, ideally before they're in crisis. The best ways to reach to us are our Network of Care website. We have an online form. You can find resources too online, but if you can't find it and are overwhelmed, because there are more than 1,000 services on that listed on that website, as well as a community calendar, access to information about jobs and a whole bunch more. But we have an online form that people connect to us on. And that Network of Care actually did start here through PPACG as well. And our case managers are direct by calling them directly, reaching us on our info line. But really, all of that goes to our case management team, who are a mighty team of 4, and they're awesome. And then the partner network that, and you'll even see PPACG's logo up here because we work with a lot with the area agency on aging in particular, but really anything that touches a service member, veteran or family member, from early care and education, Head Start, through hospice and palliative care, behavioral health, employment, and anything in between. The goal is to really make sure that all of these agencies are working together and understand what each other does and how to connect. And when they can't connect, or there are too many agencies for other folks to connect to because there's a lot going on, they send them back to us, and then we can be that kind of traffic control and kind of helping folks meet their goals so they can thrive in our community. And that collective impact is a lot of what we do collectively through, we merged two organizations back in 2020, Peak Military Care Network, which came out of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, and the Homefront Cares. And so collectively over the years, which began in about 2003, more than 216,000 services provided, more than $6.1 million in emergency financial assistance. And the network itself has served more than 530,000. And those could be duplicated because someone might have their kid at Head Start and be going to Pikes Peak now State College, and getting behavioral health services somewhere else, or working with the VA. So there are a lot of different ways that people connect, but that just shows the volume of the work that the entire community does. And in the past 7 years, we've trained more than 2,600 partner agencies members around, again, military culture, what else is available. And that collaboration piece I talked about through the partner network, that's what we're trying to do, is increase awareness and the needs of our military and veteran community, what the VA does and doesn't do. And so managing expectations around that, and making sure folks are collaborating and working together so that they can better serve. We want to give folks more tools in their toolbox to better serve. And so 92% of our partners indicated increased awareness of military and veteran needs. 94% said the trainings will help them better meet needs. That's really the goal. And 97% of partners said that our trainings help with collaboration. So again, really, we want everybody to work together, not against each other. And I won't read all of this eye chart slide because you have it in your packet as well. But the bottom line is we've seen a massive increase in calls. It wasn't 300% increase during COVID and after our merger, and it's to continue to go up 15, 20, 25% each year. So we're seeing big needs. We're seeing challenges. We're trying to address those challenges through the whole ecosystem in our community. And we're making a difference in people's lives, particularly their health and well-being, where even just listening and talking to them as well, not just providing financial assistance, but really kind of unpacking all that's going on and helping them with multiple goals, we make a difference in their health and well-being and lowering stress and anxiety levels. And so that's really kind of the big picture I wanted to talk about, as something that started here as an idea has turned into a very broad-based and statewide organization now. And so you have a couple testimonials on how we give what a lot of time is hope to the hopeless. People who are hopeless get hope and help them thrive. And it's not just about helping the individuals and the families, it's about helping the partner network. And so we help make a difference and make the jobs easier for some of our partner agencies as well. So sorry, stumbling on my words, it's a little early in the morning, but that's kind of the big picture of what we do. I'm happy to answer a question. I think Sally, who was part of this as PPACG, did you want to say something for a second? Okay. So if that's okay, if you'll, I'll leave some brochures around. Yes, question. Well, how's working? Yes, sir.
Are you guys only working with Colorado Springs, or are you working in a rural area?
We work statewide. So I would say about half of the folks that we work with are in the Pikes Peak region, to include Teller County and rural areas, and then about 25% in the Denver area, the rest throughout the state, Northern Colorado, Grand Junction, Cortez. In fact, we just had a family get some Christmas gifts, and they live out in Grenada, and we're trying to figure out how to get some Christmas gifts to them. So everywhere.
The reason for my question is I wish you guys actually help. The VFW and Callahan helps a lot of vets. Okay. And we have a lot of vets that are coming back from the sandbox. That's what we call the sandbox. Okay. And they're walking around kind of lost. So I'd like for you guys to make us part of your group. And that's post 5221 if you would.
We were literally just talking about you guys yesterday. So we definitely want to reconnect with the VFW posts and regions out there. So I'll follow up with you and make that happen.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? I know we're trying to be quick. So why don't you mention our events as the event committee chair? We do have 2 signature events, and you talked about the events, I'll get you the dollar.
Yeah, we'll have next year hello, I'm Sally Clark. And as Kate said, I'm on the board of Homefront Military Network. I wasn't engaged when it was Peak Military Care Network that came out of, as Kate mentioned, out of PPACG. And so at this point, though, it's a nonprofit freestanding. So obviously it requires, assistance from funds that are outside of government. And I think it's really important to note that there's a couple signature events that will come on next year. We'll have a golf tournament coming up. I believe it's in June. And then the Honoring the Brave breakfast, which I know many of you have been to on a frequent basis. And we really appreciate that at the Broadmoor. And that will be coming up in September. So just want to make sure that, you know that this organization, again, as Kate mentioned, important note that statewide we can help as sort of a hub. So essentially kind of a 211 for military, working with all of the partner agencies. So really important organization and trying to tear down those barriers. And Kate's been very involved in a number of ways too. We have, as Jeff Bond knows, we're standing up in the city, putting on my other hat as the government and military engagement liaison for the mayor's office for Mayor Yemi. Essentially, we are standing up the Military Spouse Career Coalition. So if any of you would like to attend, we do have a meeting tomorrow at the City Administration Building at 2:30. It will also be virtual, so you can connect with me. I'll leave you with some business cards so that you can get a hold of me directly. I think that's about it in terms of my support for Homefront Military Network and the fundraising committee that we all work on the event committee, and appreciate all of your time. If I might just mention, in my other role with the mayor's office, I know he wants to come to one of the meetings and sit down and talk with all of you, but I am the person that is working. The council member, Lynette Crow-Iverson, is also on the CML for Colorado Municipal League Policy Committee, and many of you are involved, whether it's Colorado counties or whether it's your national organizations. Really important to be engaged. I've been in contact a lot with Andy as well as it relates to federal and state policy, and we're really carefully watching what's going to happen at the state legislature once they get back into session in January. So if you have any questions about what's going on, we're working very closely with the county. We had several stand-ups, and Kate has been part of this too, in trying to prepare in case of shutdown, which we thankfully didn't have to deal with, but knowing that we need to stand up and help our local community should these shutdowns happen, and how it affects our military and our community. So if there are things that you'd like to pass along to me that are of concern to you, we're in the process of creating really a state agenda and a federal policy agenda, working very closely aligned with El Paso County, but certainly appreciate our other counties that are in the Council of Governments, Taylor and Park, to let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. And then certainly support Homefront Military Network and the other things that the other organizations that we support as well. Kate, was there anything else you wanted to mention? And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Okay, I must have answered everything. So
Well, I appreciate you moving your breakfast to September, so we didn't have to get out in the early morning and slush through the
And
snow
snow,
and
yeah.
ice. But you put it on top of the PPACG meeting. So if you could get off the PPACG
if we
meeting
could work with the
morning.
Broadmoor to just whatever.
I
we
know,
wanted, we
yeah.
do our best, So I apologize.
Just a warning, everybody who got caught in that traffic, get up and leave when they're doing the money spiel. You can give them money later on. Yeah.
So the dates are on our website, and I apologize.
So,
But
we're
I
just kidding with you.
Appreciate the time to be here, and if you have
Yeah.
any questions, you know where to find us.
Yeah.
And for those of you online, if you, I'll ask Andy if he might just share my contact. It's pretty easy. It's my name, Sally, SALLIE.Clark@coloradosprings.gov, but we'll make sure we get that to you. So if you have any questions or would like to participate in any of the things that activities we're doing, please let me know. Thank you. And thank you for all your service.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, that takes us on to item C, update on AAA carryover. Jody Barker. I said it the right name this month, huh? Well, he got called Jody Foster down in Fountain, so
I still think he's Jodie Foster.
I-
It's the blonde hair.
it's the blonde hair that does it, yeah.
Well, good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm still signing yellow books if you like. If I may, before I get into my specific presentation, I would like to take an opportunity to welcome a new staff member. We have Samantha Green is our newest ombudsman to our ombudsman team. In fact, the whole team is here. All four of we now have what we're now considering a full team of 4 ombudsmen. And if for those of you who may not be familiar with what
You're
the
getting a little
ombudsman
rebellion
is,
behind you.
I'm sure.
Saying,
Yeah.
yeah.
If the rows were further back, they'd be even further back. So, but thank you, team, for being here. For those of you who may not be aware, the Ombudsman program is one that provides advocacy to those living in long-term care communities. And when we talk about long-term care, we're talking about assisted living and nursing homes. Many of those have memory care components attached to them. And this gives those individuals 18 and older, not just seniors, an advocate for them, someone to speak for them on behalf of them if they are not comfortable speaking for themselves. And so our ombudsmen have 105 buildings across 2 counties that they visit, and hundreds of residents within those communities that they serve. And so in my opinion, it's one of the toughest jobs in all of senior services. And so we are eternally grateful for this wonderful team, and thank Samantha for joining us. So she's now in her first week and starting training. And so thank you very much for all being here. So the rest of them back there, I am going to give them by name, is Lori, Kathy, and Robin, the rest of the team. So thank you very much for joining us this morning. So the item on the agenda is just an information item around our federal carryover funding allocations. In the past, we've come before you to request approval for allocation. This time, though, this is information item only, primarily because we had very little federal carryover funding left. That's both good and bad. It's good because that serves as a positive note to our state and federal funders that we are using the allocation appropriately and timely. However, when we compare the actual carryover requests versus the funding availability, we see that there's continuing need in our community, and we will be sharing a little bit more around that a little bit later this morning. But I just wanted to show that we had a total of federal carryover allocation of $189,522.02. And what this means within the Regional Advisory Council bylaws, that funding that comes in, carryover funding that comes in under $200,000 may be allocated by staff and put right back out into the community. As you are well aware, we are a public agency, and we chose to start the process, but also engage our technical review subcommittee. That is the subcommittee of the Regional Advisory Council that does provide input to the spending allocations through the year. And so we did engage the TRS. So what you have before you in the second page, Jared, if you wouldn't mind, you can see the total requests that come through a needs assessment that we do with our carryover every year of $839,228.32. And you can see that these are all our current contracted providers for whom they're the only ones who qualify for this. This needs assessment is not out to the public. You must be a contracted current provider in good standing to apply for these funds. But that just tells us that wide gap between need and actual funding that continues to come in to our region. The actual funds available, if we take that 189,000 and change, we take out the federal required administrative costs and we take out the indirect costs. The actual funds available to go out to providers was $145,414.71. On your desks this morning when you arrived, you saw our 4-year plan. That is your copy for your municipality. Please take that. It's just a few 208 pages or so, but it's also available online if you want to share that out. We invite you to do that. But what we had to do is this was one of the first big projects that we had this time, where we looked and used the guidance that we learned within our 4-year plan. Our 4-year plan effectively acts as our strategic plan moving forward. Transportation and nutrition continue to rise to the top of the needs throughout our community, and so we use those to begin the allocation process. You'll see there are 5 agencies with the gold on their allocations. Those are a mix of transportation as well as nutrition services. The one at the very bottom with the caregiver respite voucher with Teller Senior Coalition, that came from a very specific funding part that could not be used for any other of the requests. And so the balance available in there was provided directly to that respite voucher program with Teller Senior Coalition. We were able to allocate 100% of the funds available of the $145,414.71. Because we were able to continue moving through the process, we have already provided the contract amendments and updated their funds, and so providers are already able to access and use those funds. Again, another great partnership between AAA staff as well as the TRS public members who join us in that process. I'm available for questions, if any.
That change you mentioned was one we made, gosh, what, 3 or 4 years ago? It used to be that all the funds had to go through a certain process. It was too long and there was a chance we might lose the funds at some point. So we went back and changed the process in the bylaws so that you could move a little bit quicker when these
Yeah.
smaller.
Yes.
Get the money in the hands of the service
Yeah.
provider, help our seniors, especially if it has to be spent by June 30th. So
It has to be
speed is
spent
of
by
the
June
essence.
30th. That's correct. And I thank you for highlighting that, because usually we do not see our allocation until January, February. And so in the past, even with this board, we would come to you with the needs, with estimates, with contingent approvals to move forward once the allocation was made. The allocation was able to be made here at the end of October. We were able to turn around and get these funds to our providers just in the last couple of weeks. And so we are well on our way, and they'll have plenty of time. Right now, the needs are so great that some of these programs were nearing zero already 5 months into our contract period. And so the needs are great. The needs are great. And now we'll have more details on that. So.
Andy, I'm wondering, with the price increases we've seen since things have changed, if potentially, I'm just throwing it out here as a kind of off the cuff thing, potentially that $200,000 mark is something we need to consider possibly raising by like $50,000 or something.
That's a great point. And we're going through our RFP process now for the next 2-year contracts, and we'll bring those back to the board in the spring-ish,
In the
I
spring,
think.
April,
authorization.
May. Mhm.
So that might be something we consider in that process. I like that thought. So we'll put our heads together and we'll run it by the RAC and the technical review subcommittee, the TRS as well. Yeah.
And the irony of that is our goal is to bring those carryover funds to almost nothing. But because we're working across three fiscal periods, our internal PPACG fiscal year, state fiscal year, and federal fiscal year, there will always be some sort of carryover simply because of the alignment of those. So an increase in there will certainly give us even more flexibility, and we appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Commissioner Vanderworth.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Jody. Appreciate the presentation. And I thought the demographics page was pretty interesting in comparing El Paso County, with the other counties, because it's the late 20-year-olds that are the largest demographic in El Paso. And probably the other two counties are more representative of what you see in rural counties, but I think the El Paso is really, really interesting. I do have a question though, and that is, in trying to assess this need, there's obviously a large number of private providers as well. So how do we figure out how much of a need is being met when you're trying to combine public action and private action? Because it's really the two of them together that gets you to a total outcome. So does this do that in here? I'm not sure that it does.
When you're talking about the actual allocation of funds,
No,
or just the service provision?
service providing. Because there's all kinds of private agencies, many of them nonprofits, some of them that provide those services for free or very little amounts of money. So, and it really ought to, it just seems to me like when we're trying to figure out how to serve the community best, something in the arena of whatever the public action is and whatever the private action needs to be combined.
It is. In fact, of course, our mandate is to follow the Old Americans Act and the Older Coloradans Act, specific to the mandate for programs and services, but then also the funds that are allocated to that coordinate with those two plans. We as an organization also, and for those of you who may not have a copy of the Yellow Book, that's nearly 800 listings of services across our 3-county region as well as state and federal. That's where I think what you're getting to, sir, takes into account, because we don't run any of these organizations. We fund and we collaborate with not just the funded organizations, but we collaborate across the community. We attend the meetings that Kate was describing today, so that we can better serve our community. Because if someone calls us, we're not going to just provide them services for whom we provide funding for. We determine what their needs are. Some of the services may come from us directly as AAA. Some of them may come through our providers that we fund. But then many times we're filling in those gaps by providing them referrals and connections to other organizations within the community. Despite our staff residing in this building, many of them are parts of community organizations, attending meetings, staying connected with our community. And it ultimately leads to the information that we have, that we can better serve our seniors by making sure they have what they need instead of just what's conveniently within a certain list of providers. And so many times we may provide them a referral to Silver Key for a home delivered meal, but we may also provide them other resources as well, depending on their specific needs. So it's an all-encompassing regional and statewide conversation that's constant, where we are learning what services are being provided, how we can make better connections. In fact, this afternoon, a staff member and I will be going over to the fire department and just down here downtown to figure out how we can better collaborate for many of their clients that they respond to. So it's a constant, always changing, never boring activity that we do to make sure that our seniors across our region get service the way that they need it.
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate your response. I'm not sure I got the answer I was looking for, but it's all good. I just feel like we need to have an understanding about kind of what the private investment is in this arena, as well as the public investment, because that gives us the total picture, the total understanding about how much the community is investing in our aging population so that they can have productive and happy lives, that kind of thing. The other part of it also is the efficiency of the use of those dollars. And just being an industrial engineer, that's something I think about a lot. I know that, say, for example, in El Paso County, we invested in new road equipment, which actually has massively increased the productivity of our road crews to do road repairs. That's an efficiency improvement component. And you can find all kinds of examples of that. So do we have a treatment of that in this report, or are we working on how to improve the efficiency of the consumption of those dollars to get more outcomes?
I don't know that is directly addressed, but I will say that as the Region 4 AAA, we are continually addressing those issues. Even just yesterday, and like I mentioned, this meeting today, will be conversations about how to better address people's needs so that there isn't a doubling of efforts or creating some new program despite there already being something already out in the community. And that is why we go out and we participate in a lot of these, a lot of meetings across the community where we make ourselves known, and we make sure that we're staying connected with the community to be sure that we're not recreating wheels. We're not building new programs that don't need to be built, and we're making sure that we connect. Sometimes that connection is not necessarily us. It may be two partners out in the community, and making sure that they're aware of each other so that they're not duplicating efforts. So a lot is going on in that arena. Yeah.
And no need to respond to this, but I think that efficiency consideration is really, really important. We don't really know what's before us as far as an economy. Some do say we're going to have a pretty substantial recession in 2024 of some type. And when that happens, that means less public revenues for everybody, which means, and by the way, that would be exactly at the time when you have a recession. That's when older people need more help usually, right? Mm-hmm. So you get into this difficult place of less revenues and more need. And about the only way to overcome that is to make every dollar count more. This question of efficiency. So I just think we should pay some attention to that. And I know that everybody's working on it, but there are scientific ways to actually improve that, are not always intuitively obvious. So I just think there's something we should pay some attention to on that.
Well, if I could, Madam
Were
Chair,
you
that's
volunteering for something?
Well, I'll
if
do what I
there's
can.
Funding
Certainly.
available, we'll take it.
I mean, that's
Spending
going to
every
come up not so
dollar.
much as far as the efficiency aspects, but less revenue and service demands. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit under our legislative update. So more to come on that.
And there will be more demands because we are an aging population. Our military, as you pointed out, keeps us young, kind of skews our population in this area, which is wonderful. I always say Fountain's young because of our military, and which I love, seeing all those little kids running around. And but it does make some interesting struggles as we age, and yeah.
Yeah, and we have
All right.
made some changes internally to make sure that there are efficiencies within our current spending, despite the funds, despite our allocations not keeping up with the demands. We have made internal processes changes to ensure that our providers can better meet the needs of their client base through adjusting their CPUs. That's their cost per unit expenses. We do that midway through each contract period, so that they have that opportunity to adjust based on the current demands of services and current cost increases of products and services and fuel and things like that, and cost of just a pallet of food delivered actually to your neck of the woods here recently was a $600 shipping charge, and that cost takes away from the actual service delivery. It's unfortunate, but that's the only way to get it into the community. So there are things that we are doing internally to address those continued needs with our providers and to our community. So
Yeah, I know one of the things the senior center just did recently was when they had one of their vans totaled, instead of buying a new van for about the same amount of money, they were able to purchase two cars essentially, right? And to do fuel efficiency, finding that since COVID, seniors really don't want to ride in multi-vehicle packed vans. So this way they can put a couple people in it, make faster trips. It's easier to get around, and you don't have, and so that's one of the ways they're really hoping that to see in the next year, the fuel efficiency savings that that will come with them that they can spend somewhere else instead of on that. Plus, less breaking down, right? And I know as a city, one of our new vans that we got is smaller for our bus system. Went from having electronic ADA ramps to manual ADA ramps, and to cut down expenses on the amount of for repair and the amount of time it's down and things like that. So I think there are some efficiencies going on.
Mhm. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Madam
All
Chair.
right, thank you very much. Thank you, RAC, for those hard decisions, because I'm looking through this paper of how many requests they had and how little money they had. So that's hard. All right, that takes us on to item D, public comments. Public comments can be made before or during the meeting. Public comments during the meeting are limited to 3 minutes and can be done at the meeting location or remotely by using the posted Microsoft Teams link. Individuals are encouraged to notify the meeting organizer before the start of the meeting with the agenda item they'd like to comment on. Public comments can be submitted before the meeting via email. Do we have any public comments that were submitted?
Madam Chair, we do not have anyone who submitted public comments. We do have several individuals who would like to make a public comment later on the agenda, but that is tied to a specific
Okay, it's on
agenda
an
item.
agenda item. Okay, do we have anyone in the audience for public comments? No, I'm sorry, you're not the public because we pay you. All right. Are you taking off your PPACG hat and putting on your public member hat?
No, but
Oh.
I thought I should address the rumors of me and a certain NFL player, but no. Actually, what I'd like to do is take this opportunity to introduce our safety champion, Trish. I don't think they can see you behind the pole. Come on up. And I know we're behind schedule, so I'll make this quick. We had mentioned before that we did receive a 3-year grant from the CDOT Transportation Safety Office, $150 a year for 3 years. And part of that, a huge part of that, was to hire a safety champion. It was not easy, but after an extensive search, we found Trish. And so she comes to us. Previously, she worked for Students Against Destructive Decisions. So we're very excited to have her here. And again, she will be coordinating with agencies out in the public and trying to help with coordinating and maximizing and utilizing our very limited safety dollars as efficiently as possible. So just wanted to introduce you so you all see her. And if you have a safety need, this is a person to reach out to, and she can help track down the right answer.
Welcome. All right, welcome. All right, thank you. Okay, now are there any real public members that wish to come down? Okay. All right, seeing none. Okay, we go to military installation reports. Do we still have Colonel Warner online?
Colonel Warner has unfortunately dropped off.
Okay, all righty. Jeff.
Season greetings, Madam Chair and Board. Appreciate the opportunity to represent Peterson, Schriever, Cheyenne Mountain. 3 items to brief. First is Space Base Delta 1 will be supporting the Colorado Springs Mayor's Military Spouse Career Coalition meeting tomorrow. The initiative is a key component to supporting our service members and their families through spouse employment and addressing the hurdles for spouse employment. And we thank the city's leadership for promoting this program, running this program. Second item is Space Base Delta 1 attended last month's Association of Defense Communities Conference. It was a great collaborative effort. There were members represented from Fountain, Colorado Springs, and Pikes Peak region amongst our military installations, and it really served as a catalyst to help increase future partnership opportunities that we're looking forward to pursuing in 2024. And the last item, as the military goes into their holiday season, there will be some gate hour changes at our installations. The west gate at Peterson at Powers and Airport is our 24/7 gate, and there won't be any changes there. But if anyone is looking at visiting Peterson next week for the following 2 weeks, you would probably want to check the website or the Facebook page for the updated holiday hours, and that information is available there. That's all I have to brief, pending any questions.
You don't have anything to talk about for the 24th?
Well, I know that NORAD and NORTHCOM are all jazzed up for the NORAD Track Santa. I know that the invitations for community leadership to participate went out last month, and I have not seen any emails pressuring folks to try and fill gaps. So I believe the attendance is well represented. Hopefully,
But we
if
have
you
that-
all haven't had the opportunity to do that, I just strongly encourage you to do it. It's a very great community effort.
But we have it covered. The tracking is covered. And so we know he's coming. Okay. Did you order good weather?
Yes, across the Front Range, we are ordering good weather. Yes.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Vanderwerth.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate your letting me know that there was an invite that went out to community leaders because I didn't get it. I never got that invite. But having said that, I just went on the website last night and it said there were 3 slots left and I got 2 of them, but I did it as a regular citizen. So I think I've got 6 p.m. on the 24th for my wife and I.
I have a personal elf within the system that I will communicate that information to.
Right.
That is awesome. If you could share that with that elf, I would love it. Thank you.
Yes.
This is Mayor LeKind. I didn't get an invite either and would appreciate knowing where to look.
Very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, hopefully the helpers are all filled up because we don't want those kids hanging on the line. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you. All right, that takes us on to item 4, consent items. These items will be acted on as a whole unless they're called up for discussion by a board member or a citizen. We have A, B, C, D, and E. And what would the board like to do with the consent agenda?
Second, Mayor Dixon.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Avila and a second by Mayor Dixon. Any further deliberation? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Sorry, the people online unmute, huh? All right, any opposed, say no. It takes us on to action item 5, adoption of a comprehensive economic development strategy plan. Mr. Rochette.
Thank you for having me here. So we have been over the last 6 months preparing a comprehensive economic development strategy, been funded by the Economic Development Administration, and the funds flowed through the Colorado Office of Economic Development International Trade. And the comprehensive economic development strategy, we call it a CEDS. And so that's the acronym for it. And the structure and the content of the CEDS was provided by EDA, and so we followed those guidelines. And it was quite an enjoyable process. It took about 6 months to get it done, but we engaged a large number of folks while we're doing this. So some of the sources to put together the CEDS, we had a 16-person steering committee, consisted of folks from some of the communities, the economic development councils, nonprofits, civic organizations, and it was really robust. And we probably met at least a dozen times or so. We also had a very large stakeholders group that we sent out the CEDS for review towards the end. We had a kickoff meeting and then one at the end. We also put it out for public comment. We reviewed a large number of local economic development plans, and we also conducted 45 in-person interviews throughout the region. So a lot of face-to-face input into developing the CEDS. Now the CEDS, basically the purpose of the CEDS is threefold. One is the Economic Development Administration in the past has not required a CEDS in order to provide funds to the region. That is changing. And essentially, if we don't have a CEDS, it's a good chance we will not get any funding from EDA. And EDA in the past has funded some projects in the region. City of Fountain received $75,000 for the rail project. The UCCS Cybersecurity Center got $2.7 million. Exponential Impact received $750,000 and then another $400,000. And in addition to that, there's a $6 million loan fund available statewide that we will be eligible if we have projects that need some revolving loan funds. The CEDS itself, the second reason for the CEDS is the state has always prepared an economic development strategy for the state. We've never provided any input to it. So this is our first chance really to help the state really see things from our perspective. And the third one, which I found probably the most enjoyable, is that as we bring all these people together, it breaks down silos. We had a lot more of that cross-fertilization between people that normally don't meet with each other. And I thought that was really valuable. And there was a lot of excitement through the SEDS when we're all done with it. The SEDS, though, actually incorporates a number of different elements. One is it starts with an analysis of the regional economy, and then it does a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then we discuss resiliency for the region. We discuss equity and inclusion, and then we do a target industry assessment. Now, most of you are familiar that the Colorado Springs Economic Development Council spent a lot of money on what's called the Newmark study. So we incorporated much of that into this SED. So rather than plow old ground. After the target industry assessment, we went deeper. We went into a discussion of the regional economic systems or support systems. And I'll give you an example of what that is here in a moment. Then we did goals, metrics, and targets, and we ended up with some key insights. The key industries that we examined that came out of the Newmark study is aerospace and defense, finance and insurance, medical device manufacturing, the military, higher education, hardware and manufacturing, semiconductor supplies, healthcare, and tourism. We went in deeper than that. We started looking at natural resources, agriculture, nonprofits, transportation, educational, medical, and healthcare systems, childcare, sports and recreation, arts and entertainment, wildfire mitigation, labor force training, the CHIPS Act, communication, cyber, housing, and utilities. So we did, the SEDS itself pulls a little bit of information about each of those so that we set the stage of a big picture of what our economy is and what it can grow into being. So as we went through all these sections, we kind of concluded with a listing of both recent, planned, or desired economic development planning efforts and projects of the stakeholders. Now, we did not put in there specific projects with specific dates and specific dollar amounts. And that was really kind of along the lines with so many different entities having so many different perspectives. We didn't want to be pigeonholed by saying we will do this, this, and this, and therefore not that, that, or that. So we really instead created a picture of what we hope to achieve in the past and what we've been achieving. I mean, hope to achieve in the future and what we have been achieving in the past. So once again, it covered a wide variety of institutions and industries. And then when we, to conclude this, we had our goals and metrics that EDA will look at and measure us to, and we'll have to update this every 5 years. But we also put in 3 appendices that I think if you have a chance to look at are really interesting. One is examples of local projects that have been completed. It totaled here in just the last few years over $2 billion of new capital investment in the region, supporting 3,500 jobs. Many of them are in cyber and advanced manufacturing, but it's really impressive what's been going on in the community. We also had a section called Working Together as a Community. And really what that did is that really talked about all the different efforts and thrusts of focuses and all the different entities that can be involved with that and what the geographic features of that is. And speaking of geographic, this was 3-county, Park County, Teller County, El Paso County, the eastern part of El Paso County, all the way up to Fairplay and Bailey and those areas up there. And then the final one in the SEDS is a list of credits. And when you look at the list of credits, you can't help but be impressed with all the people that really put their time and effort and thoughts into this SEDS. So what we're really asking for from all of you today then is for approval of the SEDS, and then we can submit it to EDA as a formal document. The one thing I don't think I said yet, once we have an approved SEDS, in the future, EDA has said that they will not fund new projects without an approved SEDS. They've also indicated that there are other federal programs that will either require a SEDS or will use a SEDS as extra evaluation points. And that's Department of Ed, Department of Agriculture, FEMA, and I think there's several others. But anyhow, having a SEDS is a very important document, both leading to money and to better planning within the region. So with that, I'm open for questions.
have any really quick questions because we're way behind.
I have a question.
Mhm.
On when you went back and you quoted the number of jobs and the dollars that would be, are those based off of projections from companies or are those actual numbers?
I think their projections, they were the statements when they went through the Economic Development Council. Here's what we're bringing, here's how many jobs we're going to bring. So some of them are actuals, but many are projections.
Right. And do you realize in the last 5 years, those projections have really, many of them never panned out. So the actuals would be really nice to have.
Yeah, I will see if I can get the actual. I'm not sure that I can. I've been doing this kind of thing in other communities for many, many years, and what you're saying is typical. That, what we anticipate this is going to happen, it didn't, but other things did that we didn't anticipate. So, all in all, I think it's just a great positive indicator of what's going on rather than a hard number that we can put our hat on.
And if I could, Madam Chair, I think what we want to do is we're going to definitely bring the kitchen cabinet, the steering committee back together at least one more time in early 2024. And we'll run this by them to find out how do we track the actuals versus what's been projected or promised or whatnot. We've got a couple other tasks that they need to kind of dig into. But yeah, that's a good suggestion. Yeah.
Other questions?
Okay, I do have one hand online too. Let me go to online real quick. Jeff Mosier online.
Yeah, I just want to, being part of the kitchen cabinet, I wanted to thank Paul and the other staff at PPACG for all the hard work and dedication they put into this SEDS project. It was an honor to be a part of it, but they did a great job and I'm really happy with the outcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Vanderworth.
Yes, I'd like to just talk a little bit about the communications broadband fiber section, something we have a broadband plan, in El Paso County. And this is for Shane, if you might be willing to listen. And we've been trying to negotiate with CDOT the use of CDOT's right of way that they have so that we can drop a fiber cable. And CDOT apparently has a policy to treat counties like companies and to charge us a rental rate for that. And the problem with that is the rental rate is actually the entire amount of federal money that we have to drop the cable, which makes us trying to get a fiber cable out to Calhan and Peyton unexecutable because of the CDOT policy. So I would be interested in maybe trying to take this to a different level and try to get that resolved. It just seems so important to me that we work together as a partnership to get to broadband. And right now that project is stuck because we can't afford the rental rate. And by the way, that rental rate gets charged every single year.
And I think what that brings up is this SEDS really, if you needed to describe it, it's a situational awareness document as opposed to a set of solutions. The solutions is what has to come in the future, led by the elected officials and the board and so on and so forth.
Well, we all want broadband, and it's important for all of our residents. And it feels like at this point, since we're stuck on that, that we've been talking about reaching out to the governor and trying to get this broken loose.
Good idea. It's not just you guys. I was on my IT department doing something that should have taken 5 minutes, almost 40 minutes. So you don't have to live that far out of town. You just have to be right outside the normal.
And Madam Chair, if I could, and Shane, I'm not sure if you have any information on this or not, but I think there is something coming up in front of the State Transportation Commission next week for additional or revised proposed fees within the right of way. Just got some communication on that yesterday and happy to share that out with our board if we see a need to weigh in on that as well. But it's activating the COGS and other economic development districts across the state to try to put pressure on the Transportation Commission to not approve those fees. So I'll send out what I've got.
Councilmember Avila.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Paul, thank you so much for that clear and concise presentation. It's one of the better presentations because I can just see it all in my head. So thank you for that. And with that, I'd like to move to approve this item.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we second? How many seconds do I have over there? 2, 3?
As
Kelly
many
gets
as
this
you
one?
need, I'd say.
All right, Kelly gets this one. All right. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further deliberation or questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Paul. Thank you for all the hard
you
work.
all.
And thank you,
Appreciate it.
everybody on all those groups too. That's a big herding cat job there. Okay. All right, it takes us on to B, approval of regional priority program funding. Jessica.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. This item to before you today is CDOT's request for concurrence of allocating RPP funding within the Pikes Peak region for fiscal year 2028. And so we're asking for approval for it to go into this year because it's outside of our current tip years, which is 23 through 27. So this will just add funding into that 2028, and those projects and that funding is located in the table included for you to review. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or we have Jeff Guthrie online from CDOT and Shane here as well.
Okay, any questions from anyone? I don't see any hands online. Anybody in the room? Okay, what would what would the board like to do?
Mayor Dixon, I'll move we approve the regional priority program funding.
And Madam Chair, I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
All right, you win the award so far today. All right. Item C, legislative update, Andy Gunning.
So we may make up for that on this item, unfortunately, but so you approved the updated legislative brochure in the under consent today. So that's pretty much as you had seen in the past. But the other legislative issue that we wanted to bring to the forefront today, we didn't bring this up at the legislative committee meeting last week because it really wasn't on our radar as a great sense of urgency at this point, but it has emerged since then as something that we think we need to lean into. And it gets back to AAA funding that we talked about, you talked about earlier just a little while ago, but there's a real sense of urgency with all the AAAs across the state and concern around the draft governor's budget that's been released in the past month. There's a hearing with the Colorado Department of Human Services. Yeah, Jody, come on up as well, because we'll tag team this a little bit. But there's a hearing with the JBC, the Joint Budget Committee, and the State Human Services budget presentation this coming Friday. Basically, what we're understanding from the draft budget is that it's taking AAA funding that the state provides back to pre-pandemic levels, basically fiscal year 2019, 2020, roughly. And we're really, really concerned about that. We get the fact that things are pretty tight right now. There's only, I think, about a $23 million surplus as far as excess discretionary revenue that could be applied to different programs across the state budget. So we get all that, but the fact that since 2019, 2020, we've seen a big increase in our population, our aging population. That's the one demographic that's really growing significantly over other portions of our age structure. We've seen really major service demand increases. I think we've really been discovered, and the other AAAs have been as well as we got through the pandemic, realized all the great services that are provided. So service demands have been up. Then obviously inflation as well, and that impacts, price of fuel and food and labor and everything. So what we're asking for today, we've been working in partnership with Dr. Cog especially, and I know there's a call with the AAA directors tomorrow, but trying to coordinate so we can bring a little pressure on the JBC on Friday to say, hey, we could use some additional support, and maybe out of that $23 million surplus that's available, that some of that should be allocated. We feel really should be funded to the AAAs across the state. So I know we have a couple of folks that want to speak on this as well, but Jody, anything else we need to?
Yes, thank you. Andy summed it up well. This is a concern because despite the emergency funding and that is spent now, and despite the expansion of our client base through the time of COVID, rules and regs are back to pre-COVID measures. And so some of the arguments that we've heard are, well, anybody and everybody can receive services. And while that's generally still so, the priorities have returned to norm. And so folks who previously may have self-identified in some way, shape, or form to access services now may not be able to. And the reality is, much to the demonstration that I showed earlier, with only 145,000 available, yet 839,000 in need. And these are valid demonstrated needs. Staff go through those and determine that they are valid valid requests. We can see the gap, and that's just in our carryover. State funding really has not moved very much at all. Even through our base funding has not moved. As you well know, also, we are now at the tail end of the homestead exemption additional funding that we've received over the last 5 years, and so that is going away. And the biggest challenge too is also there's that balance between the state funding and the federal funding. Neither are keeping up with the need, and so you've heard plenty of from us over many months and years as we talked. We thought we'd bring before you some of our providers. And so I'd like to ask Jared Graham to the podium. He is with Eyesight Connections. He is one of our service providers and trainers, and I will let him share the need in his own words.
Thank you, Jody, and hello. Thank you so much for letting me speak today. I'd like you to take a moment and look down at the papers in front of you and read the words. And then I'd like you to take a moment and think about, what if tomorrow morning you woke up and you were completely unable to read those? If you were unable to get into your car and drive? If you were unable to see the screen on your oven or recognize the food in your refrigerator? 35,000 plus adults, older adults in the Pikes Peak region are struggling with that right now, or will be this year. People like Deb, who for 67 years got up, drove to have lunch with her friends, read her favorite books, saw Christmas lights, within a week lost all of her vision. Her husband had to go into early retirement and they couldn't afford that. And because of your generous funding and the work with Eyesight Connections, we were able to bring hope back into her life and get her independent again. But Jim wasn't the same story. He called emergency services terrified because of his vision loss. They came out and there wasn't anything they could do. They couldn't offer him any services because they weren't available at that time. 2 weeks later, Jim took his life. And it's not an uncommon story that we're seeing. Eyesight Connections is one of the only available services in the area now, next to Becky Shields, who we are super thankful to work with. But we're the only one that provides assistive technology to get them independent again, and many other services in connecting them to healthcare, mental health care. Many of these older adults after COVID have lost family connections. They are alone. And we are working extremely hard to connect them with those services, with our partnership with places like Peak Vista and DVR if they're interested in working again. As the crisis continues, these traumatic experiences increase as well. Since I started a year and a half ago, our wait list has tripled, but our services haven't slowed down. It's becoming greater and greater a need. As an optometrist told me, the genetic disorders were always there, but adults are living longer now, and the genetic disorders are starting to connect a lot earlier. Many older adults are getting lost, unable to communicate. A young lady, Barb, called me the other day. I say she's young, obviously she was in her 70s. She called me afraid to give me any personal information at all. She was terrified to put anything out there and get scammed. I couldn't get a hold of any personal information to get me closer to her, to any kind of family members. But because of the funding you guys provide, we were able to go to Peak Vista and give her a safe place to come, because she had no health care at all. She had no family in the area that she would be willing to tell me about, and she would lost all her vision. The crisis is getting larger and larger with blinder adults, and they're having a really hard time finding the services they need. And like I said, Independence Center just lost its OIB funding, which is their older individual blindness funding. They let go of it. So now Eyesight Connections and Becky Shields is the only thing in the area that comes to their need. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jared. I appreciate that time. Another one of our providers, many of you are familiar with, is Silver Key. They are a broad service provider across El Paso County up into Woodland Park for their meal services. And I've asked Lori Wood, who is a Chief Operations Officer, to share a little bit about the needs.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you, everyone. To remind you what Silver Key does, and maybe you might be surprised because I am how often when I'm in the community and people think, well, you're just Meals on Wheels. So I'm going to give you a brief overview and especially many things expanded during COVID and has extended to the current day. So we are the senior service agency for El Paso County and Teller County. Monument to Fountain, Woodland Park to Calhan. We provide transportation, nutrition services. We have 13 cafes, Meals on Wheels, food pantry, emergency food for homebound folks, health and wellness, navigation, case management, guardianship, companionship, calls of reassurance, which we do to 200 people 3 days a week, every week, 52 weeks a year. We maintain 2 senior centers, one in Monument and one at our main campus, which also includes a digital hub at our main campus that we just got up and going with a grant from the city. We do this with 48 employees, 12 part-time employees, and 450 volunteers. The volunteers are essential to the operation of Silver Key. Pre-pandemic, we served about 6,500 people, unique individuals. Currently, we are serving close to 9,000, which results in about 130,665 unique encounters with those about 9,000 individuals a year. Silverline, our call center, takes 150 calls a day, and that works out to about 28,000 calls a year. A third of our budget is AAA, which is the foundation in which we deliver our wraparound services to our seniors. The rest of our budget, we have to figure out with donors, sponsorships, grants, our thrift stores. We're trying to create some creative solutions, Stan will love, by making partnerships with Next Chapter, to serve our veterans, which is about 25% of our clientele at Silver Key. We also have partnerships with the Colorado Springs Fire Departments, with the CARES team, again, to create efficiency so that we're not duplicating efforts and we are working collaboratively to best meet the needs of our seniors. AAA is essential, obviously, for this funding. Not only do they give us money, which we are extremely grateful for, but it's the coordination, collaboration, and advocacy at the local, state levels that is a huge support so that we deliver the highest possible assistance to the seniors who deserve it. We also, many of you hopefully are aware that we are building a 50-unit affordable housing unit right on our campus. 13 of those units will be dedicated to veterans. We are doing all of this. The increase in service demands on us, frankly, with less money because everything costs more. So since 2019 to now, we are serving 2,000 to 3,000 more people a year with greater staff cost, more fuel cost, greater maintenance of vehicle cost, greater food cost. So really, in some ways, we are serving many, many more people with many, many more services than we did in 2019 than we did than currently. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lori. I have online Penny Everest, who is the newly named Executive Director of Park County Senior Coalition. She previously served as their program coordinator, and their board named her the Executive Director just a few weeks ago. So Penny, would you come on and share a little bit about how the funding affects your seniors there in Park County?
Very well. Thank you, and thank you for letting me speak today at the meeting. I'm Penny Everest, Executive Director for Park County Senior Coalition. Our mission is to help seniors maintain high quality of life by remaining in their homes as long as they wish and are able to. I wanted to give you some stats from 2021-22 to 2022-23. Total number of served people were 1,183. Prior to that, prior year was 742. This is a huge increase. In our homemaker plan, we had 1,139 served. The year before, 314. Huge increase there, huge demand for that. The seniors absolutely love that program. They absolutely love all the programs, actually. On case management, we did the year before 221 hours, and this last year, 476. So it's a huge increase there. On chore, we did the year before 138 and this year 191. So it's a huge increase from these people really wanting our services. I can't say enough how appreciative they are of it, thanking us for helping them anywhere from doing chore and of course with transportation. And they thank me constantly of it. So that's my little breakdown of Park County Senior Coalition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Penny. And lastly, I've invited Amy Mitchell. Many of you may know her as the Park County Commissioner, but also she serves as Vice Chair of the Pikes Peak Commission on Aging, and she's going to share a little bit, and then we'll wrap it up. Thank you very much. Please go ahead, Amy.
Thank you, Jody, very much. Yes, as Jody said, my name is Amy Mitchell, and I am the Vice Chair of Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Commission on Aging, as well as a County Commissioner. And our overreaching goal is to support aging in place across the PPACG area. The Commission is currently working on the following goals, which are dependent on Area Agency on Aging funding. We have synthesized down 4 goals and objectives, which are in alignment with the Community Assessment Survey for older adults. One is to enhance accessible and affordable health care, to find creative ways to simplify communication with the healthcare provider. We are currently brainstorming possible telehealth accessibility collaboration options within communities. Second goal is to create age-friendly housing and transportation, to build on existing transportation or voucher programs that are provided within the region. Third is to strengthen caregiver support and services by collaborating with existing providers to promote expansion into underserved areas. Many areas in rural PPACG do not have access to physical therapy or in-home care visits, and so we're trying to address that issue. Fourth is to promote social engagement and inclusion, create a sense of well-being and value by fostering purposeful skill building and those who are aging in place. Success will be achieved by supporting and leveraging a community's unique existing resources and assets. How will we achieve success? We're going to start with an assessment of what is available and collaborate with available providers, which incrementally will expand into underserved areas and serve the expanding need. Also, find creative ways to improve delivery of services to reach our goals. So these goals are dependent on making sure the existing providers and services can survive into the future. Where the funding stands now, maintaining existing services and programs is a challenge. As you've already heard today, inflation is eroding the current AAA funding, and maintaining existing programs is a challenge. Without an increase in AAA funding, the goal to reach the underserved and collaborate with service providers throughout the region to expand their reach will fall short. And so we definitely need to press the JBC to assist in the funding for our future survival. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Amy. I appreciate that. And to all of those who joined us today in the room and online, as you may be aware, but possibly not, nearly half of our funding does come from the state. And so this is a very large gap that we are facing to fill, to make sure that we can reach the needs of our older adults across the community. With that, I will hand it back to Mr. Gunning.
Thanks. And basically the direction we're looking for today is board support to be able to engage with the state, especially starting with the JBC this coming Friday. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody from our region who's on the JBC. We have in the past, but just not currently. But yeah, again, in talking with the AAAs and especially DRCOG, we've been coordinating with, this is sort of a break glass kind of moment. It's really gotten the AAAs across the state really, really alarmed. So yeah, looking for direction and feedback.
So who is going to go up and talk to the JBC?
Either in person or online.
Yes, very likely me.
We're still trying to see if we can carve out 20 minutes maybe for a joint AAA directors engagement with the JBC on Friday, instead of just signing up for public comment and getting your 3 minutes. Our counterpart up in DRCOG is trying to arrange that. So that's not settled quite yet, but one way or another, most likely Jody, and appreciate Commissioner Mitchell and her comments. I think the Commission on Aging is ready to get activated and engage on this as well, but can't have them get too far ahead of where the board is, obviously. And hopefully some of our service providers can also engage.
Okay, so this isn't on as, is not on as, oh, it is on as action item. I'm sorry.
Yep.
So, Madam Chair. So we don't have a motion written out for us that you want.
Not a
Hang on. Just
we could work up language if you need some, and it might be a little bit squishy, but just it would be ability to engage with the state and the JBC on additional AAA funding, especially with the discretionary funds that are still available.
And I hope if they do carve out the time, you'll be able to go up, because I get to drive for 3 minutes. It's a really long drive, but
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's well worth the time.
Commissioner Williams.
I move that as a board of directors, we support the efforts by the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments and Area Agency on Aging to engage with the Joint Budget Committee to see if we can keep the funding from being reduced.
How about can I offer a friendly motion to increased?
You can certainly try to get it to be increased too. To get it increased. Let's get all of it.
Flat, in my opinion, is a decrease. Anyways, we have a motion on the floor.
I'll second.
And we have a second on the floor. And I just want to make sure, is the motion for the friendly amendment of increasing funding? Okay, all right, thank you. All right, any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right,
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
thank you.
members of
And
the
thank you
board.
for
We
everybody
appreciate it.
for their time coming in today. Really appreciate it. It's always great to hear from different people. So, all right, it was a hard sell, Jody, you know. Yeah. All righty, number 6, information items, FY 25-29 tip draft. Jessica, you're back up again.
Yes, hello, Madam Chair, board members again. So this information item for you today is to bring forth the 25-29 tip draft document. It's developed, and so it's beginning to make its way through the motions and working towards an approval in March. And so because it is a very large document, as you'll see, it's 143 pages of light reading in your packet. I just wanted to make sure you had ample time to review it over the holidays before I bring it back for recommendation for public comment. So right now it's just information. I would hope that you can sift through it, make sure I'm, catching everything that you want me to have in there for our jurisdictions and such, and send any kind of comments, questions, all of that to me. My email is in the document there, in the memo, and I think that about covers it, unless you have questions.
So this is just for information.
Just for
You'll be back in-
information.
You'll be back in January as an action item for release for comment.
Yes.
And
so-
then that'll go on for what, 30 days?
Mhm.
So probably be back February.
It'll be back in February for review of the public comments and any last minute changes, things like that. And then we're looking for adoption in March, and then it goes into effect for August of this year. So it's a little bit of a tight deadline. That's why I wanted to bring it before you this month to give you extra time to review it and barrage me between now and the next board meeting.
Okay, so make the end of her 2023 wonderful with all your comments. Stan?
Yes, first of all, I want to express my appreciation that you're giving us a lot of time to review it. I can, in comparing, for example, I'm a voting member of the Colorado State Board of Health, and we've occasionally had instances where we've gotten the materials 2 days in advance of the board meeting. And that really doesn't work. So 30 days is awesome. But what I would like to, I'd like to, ask for is, I don't know if maybe it's too much time to do now, but if there could be a summary, unless it's already in here and I just don't see it, a summary of the changes, something that can be sent to the board members, or if that's simple and easy to do it now, unless, the chair wishes to have that addressed separately. But some way to kind of help us focus in on what the changes are so we can find them easily, instead of like getting the old document and trying to compare it to this document and figure that out ourselves.
Absolutely. That's something I can write up pretty quick and easy and send it out to you guys as a follow-up to the meeting. I can show you the list of projects that received new funding during this call for projects, which was just a handful, but happy to do that. Happy to show you what's changed as far as the legislation and make it quick and easy for you.
Yeah, I think written would probably be easier for
Yep.
most of.
And as a side note too, which is good to note, every project that requested funding or sought funding during this call for projects did receive either full or partial funding. So that's exciting. So some of the appendices will be light, like our unscheduled pool, things like that, because everything's sitting there with funding right now. So, but yeah, happy to follow up with that.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardine?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Is this homework?
Yeah.
Yes, you have
She
to read
gave
the
me
whole
homework.
thing by New Year's. No, if you could peek through the major things really to look for is just the projects in there. That's what the whole document really is encompassing, is just showing the
Well,
regionally significant projects.
all I have to say is bah humbug.
So anyway, well, you have next month as well to review, and we'll open it up for comment then. So just wanted to give you extra time to peek through it if you had some time. So thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could, for
Yes.
clarification, this covers, and this is where it gets uncomfortable, just the MPO jurisdictions, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so those that are just within the urbanized area, so,
Yes, the MPO.
yeah, Mayor Pro Tem Gardine, don't spend too much time reading through it, looking for Calhoun
If you feel
projects.
salty and you'd like to, go ahead.
No,
and
no
abstain.
problem. No.
Would you like to volunteer to read mine and give me comments?
There you go.
Negative, Madam Chair, negative.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks.
All right. All right, that takes us on to item B, recommended slate of officers for 2024 executive committee positions. It says Andy Gunning, but I didn't know if it was the nominating committee.
Yeah, Mayor Dixon, part of
Okay.
the nominating committee. We had 5 positions, 5 applicants, and we decided to recommend that we keep Eric on as treasurer because of the training associated with it. So the slate that we're recommending is Sharon Thompson for chair, Holly Williams, first vice chair, Dave Donaldson for second vice chair, Eric Stone for treasurer, and Kelly Case for secretary.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. And we'll vote on that in January.
Madam Chair, I just wanted
Yes.
to bring attention to the board. I mentioned this in our workshop last Friday, that the city council did approve by consensus the change to make me the primary member and for our mayor, Hillary Labar, to be the alternate member, which facilitates me sitting in that position. So I wanted to share that with the board and happy to serve and honored to be asked. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, because per our bylaws, it has to be the primary member and not the alternate that has the position, right? So yeah, thank you for taking care of that ahead of time. Appreciate that. And well, I won't say welcome aboard because you haven't been voted in yet. I don't know. It's going to be a tough election. So, right. Thank you, nominating committee, for taking care of that. Appreciate it. So, all righty. That takes us on to other reports, and I'm looking down. CDOT.
Right. Good morning, Madam Chair and the board. So I'll go ahead and address Commissioner Vanderwerf's question on the fiber. I went and looked some research on it. It looks like for next week during the TC Commission, we're proposing a 90% reduction based off of the previous proposal and rates. And so there's more discussion to come, but it appears it's going to be a significant reduction in the cost. And that cost generally is going to be just covering our costs to permit that right away on an annual basis. And so more information to come, but we are proposing a reduction in the rate.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, I'd like to express my appreciation that there's a consideration for an action like that. I think one thing that would be important at this point is to make sure that the county staff who's trying to make that program be successful, that they have an opportunity to provide input to CDOT, whether or not those fees are adequate or not. Just, without being able to research that in detail, I think the county would expect that it would have to pay for whatever costs would be associated with us digging the trench and dropping the fiber. So if there were costs accrued to CDOT, I would imagine that we would have a willingness to pay for those costs. So I think what that means is, as a generalization, that what you're proposing might be acceptable, because if its only purpose is to pay your costs, then that would be an expectation. However, having said that, I think it would be just awesome to get with the county staff and just make sure that what I just said is actually how they would also feel about it.
I'll text them right now
Excellent.
so they can reach out to Shane.
So great. Few other updates. So the MAMSET project, I-25 reconstruction project, we're looking at shifting the current configuration from the northbound lanes. It was planned for tonight, but weather's made that challenging. So we're considering tomorrow night for that shift in I-25, but the weather may be prohibitive on that as well. And so we'll find out around noon, 1 o'clock today if that's going to happen or not. If it is not tonight, then we're looking at the 19th, so Tuesday of next week for that shift. And what that means is closure of northbound direction I-25, exit off at 85, 87, go down 85, 87 northbound to South Academy, and then enter back on I-25. At that point, the closure would be at 9 p.m. and continue until 6 a.m. the following morning. And so a little bit of a disruption, absolutely, but this opens up the northbound lanes. Another slight disruption will be Monday night next week. Now, this impacts a little bit Pueblo communities, a little bit more so, but the BNSF train derailment that happened back, I believe, August 15th. We are closing down the interstate, both southbound and northbound, on the 18th to set the bridge, or have BNSF set the bridge. That closure will begin at 7 p.m. on the 18th and open back up on the 6 a.m. on the 19th. The detour route for the northbound and southbound for that location will be US 50 to State Highway 115 there in Penrose and back. And so we will definitely have the VMS boards and all the ITS information out and about as much as possible. And news release went out this morning, last night or this morning. So we should have that in the news and the media this week.
Are they going to make sure 115 is easy to get through? I mean, last time they didn't have any choice because they didn't have any warning. This time.
Yeah. It's still an active construction project. Permitting vehicles and that type of thing will not be allowed just because of the narrow lanes, but we're getting that information out in advance, and so that should help. Definitely can't control the traffic. We saw that quite a bit. Right. People make their choices, but as much information we can get out absolutely as possible. As far as the configuration 115, there will not be any construction work at that evening.
Okay.
On the 18th during that set.
Yeah.
Other updates, Fillmore to Garden of the Gods project's underway. You can start seeing some of the activity. It's a little bit slower than we would like, but at this time, they're still getting some of their work and projects and equipment together to move that along. Other projects within the area, State Highway 9, US 285, it's essentially winter. I don't want to say a shutdown. They are working on the bridge still this winter, but you'll see in the Fairplay and Park County area just kind of a reduction in the activity over the winter. And for the most part, that's what I have for updates. We are next year's construction season. We're looking at Powers Airport Interchange. That project will be advertised at the end of January. Hope to have that project started under construction probably May, June timeframe, as well as a few other surface treatment projects on I-25 between here and Pueblo. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
In Commissioner Williams?
Actually have a comment, the lights that let you onto the freeway, the ramp metering lights. Yeah. So at the northbound on Academy, the South Academy entrance to the freeway, they alternate so much better than any other light. I wish you could do that at Bijou, at Fillmore. If there's a way you could do that, that alternating is so helpful. So just
my understanding, we're trying it out and it seems to be a success. And if it continues to work that way in those dual lane situations, we would try to implement that as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vanderwerth.
Yes, thank you for maybe a second bite at the apple here. And again, also for Shane. And I just don't know, we all have challenges about plowing roads, but I did get some constituent feedback in the Green Mountain Falls area. Complaining, their assertion is that Highway 24 and also a lot of the local roads were not being plowed. I think 24 is a CDOT responsibility, and I just have to imagine you guys pay a lot of attention to it. So I cannot validate their claim one way or another, but I just thought I'd let you know that I do have an email here, could forward it to you. If CDOT wanted to follow up and talk to the resident or something like that, we can meet afterwards and pass that along to you. we are dealing with the comments from the citizen with regard to the local roads.
Understood. And absolutely, US 24 is a high priority for us. So.
Thank you.
Councilmember Case?
Thank you. I've had some folks in town call me about what is going on in Woodland Park with the lane closures over the last week or so. Lot of social media, and we all know what that looks like. But on social media, a lot of complaining about how the lanes were high and rumbling and just lots of different issues with the end product of the project, the paving project.
Okay.
They've got the lanes closed and they're doing a lot of, it looks like cutting the road again. And they've been doing it for a couple days. I said that I would ask you today what is going on so that I can share that back. And there's actually factual data out there.
Yeah, so as part of our process, when we do a resurfacing project, we profile the road and we essentially check for smoothness on the road. And one of our mechanisms or tools that we have or the contractors have to smooth it out is called micromilling, essentially. And that's what's going on. And so in those rough areas where when they went through paving for various number of reasons, it come up bumpy, if you will. And so that's what we're doing at this point, or what the contractor is doing at this point is really trying to smooth those microsurfacing, micromilling out.
And that's not an unusual occurrence.
That's
Probably
correct, it's
happens
not.
with almost every paving project, correct?
To some degree or another, yes.
Thank you for that. And I'll share that so that people aren't quite so angry.
Understood.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
They're concerned, Kelly. They're concerned. All right, I have two people
It's a
online.
common thing.
I have Commissioner Stone and then Mayor LaKind.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, Councilman, excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem Case actually asked the question I was going to ask. So thank you for the answer, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mayor LaKind.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just curious on where we are in the design plans of the Baptist Road to Razo roundabout, percentage-wise.
Yeah, my understanding is this winter we should be advertising that project. If it's not currently advertised, I have to go back and look on my notes real quick. But we are underway. If it's not advertised, it'll be advertised probably after the first of the year for contractors to bid on it.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, and I love this slide. Already took a picture of it and sent it off to staff, so thank you.
No problem.
All right, any further questions or comments from anybody? All right, thank you. Holly, we actually have time for your report.
And my report is so short this month. The Statewide Transportation Advisory Committee does not meet in December, so our next meeting will be the first week of January. That's it.
All right, and that takes us to item J, committee and commission vacancies. I encourage everybody to look through what their municipality or county has for vacancies and see if you can get those filled. And then we have the executive director's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just two things real brief. One is I think we're sending out fairly soon a notice to not just the PPACG board, but all our local elected officials across the region. I think I mentioned this before. We're aiming to have a regional assembly of all the elected officials, maybe twice a year is kind of what we're aiming for. I really like this notion. It kind of came about in our conversations with the city, town, county managers, but it gets a chance to get all of our elected officials together in the same room, get to know one another. But also we're going to bring in a guest speaker when we can get a good speaker that can speak to issues that would be on point and helpful. And I'm pretty excited. I think I can announce our first speaker is going to be Dr. Pam Shockley, former UCCS chancellor, and she's going to come and speak about leadership and trust issues. That's kind of her main thing, how to build trust within your community and within your governing body. So really excited about that. This will be an exciting new endeavor for us to get involved with. So should be coming soon. Just be on the lookout for that, hopefully before the end of the year. The only other thing is just want to thank the board for all your great support and engagement this year. I think we got a lot of really good stuff done this year, so really appreciate that and really excited about what's on the horizon for 2024. So Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, everybody.
It's our last meeting of the year, huh? All right. Went by fast. Any member entity announcements? Mayor Dixon.
Yeah, our legislative committee attendance is getting a little thin. So I'd encourage you to attend those meetings. Right now, the last meeting, we didn't even have enough attendees to really select chair and co-chair for the next year. And
We're
so,
not asking for a lifetime commitment.
no,
No,
not a lifetime commitment.
Monday mornings at 8:30.
Monday mornings,
Right now,
8:30.
so, yeah.
Sometimes we meet twice a week during the legislative session, so.
So are there any additional meetings this month? Christmas
Not this
morning?
month.
Okay, all right, just checking.
You really want to meet Christmas morning?
No, I
Unless
don't.
you really
Okay.
want one.
I'm
I
gonna-
thought that was a special request for a special
My
session.
thought is Christmas Eve, I'm gonna call Roland and I'm gonna read to him the tip amendment. And we'll both fall asleep and forget that Santa came.
All right. Anybody else? I think everybody's tree lightings and all that kind of good Christmassy stuff are done by now. Mayor Grandma, you look like you're.
Madam Chair, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, for the last year, I've served as the PPACG representative for the Front Range Passenger Rail Commission. In the coming year, I would prefer to step down from that. So I'd like to make that announcement and give people the opportunity to consider that. If need be, I would continue to serve, but I'd prefer to pass it along, share the fun.
So we'll add that to our January agenda.
Yes, for the annual meeting, first portion of the meeting in January, we'll make appointments to the Passenger Rail District, the STAC, Executive Committee, and so forth. So, yeah.
Yolanda and I'll do our annual
Mhm.
switching of hats for
Yep.
transportation.
Yep.
Okay. All righty. Sounds good. All right. Mayor LaKind. Well, Garrett. Okay, try it again. You weren't unmuted at the beginning.
Okay, I just wanted everybody to know that the town of Monument has published a public notice regarding the representative for the CAC with Terry Hayes being termed out. We've put it out to the public in the northern part of the county to get a representative, and we're hoping for people to express interest at our January 2nd, 2024 meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else? All right. Gosh, I'm so excited. What time is it? It's like, I know, I'm like so excited. I get.
Madam Chair, could I have one moment just to
Oh,
make one
man,
small
Jill.
announcement? It's very short. Thank you. My brain engaged
Okay.
finally. I just wanted to let you all know that the council did select a new city manager for
Oh.
the city. And we have selected Aaron Vasilati. He is our current finance director and is quite young, quite brilliant, and already is pleasing and making the community very happy at our choice and our selection. So if you get a chance, introduce yourself. He's a remarkable young man, and we're looking forward to working with him. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Jeff?
Jeff Bond here, and I would like the board of directors to know that I passed the volunteer website for the NORAD Track Santa to the PPACG administration. They'll be able to publicly post that. I also have an ELF code if anybody would like to get with me after the meeting for interest. That's all I have.
Okay. And if you're online, you'll have to email Jeff. Okay, yes.
Yes, Madam Chair, my little community and our 8 churches wish you all Merry Christmas.
All right, thank you very much. On
I
that-
have, I just looked at my calendar and Stan, I was able to get the 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. if you would like to have it. I will trade you.
Okay, generosity is overwhelming. I know. All right, on that note, now are we done? Because it is only, look at this, 10:44. We are adjourned.